Hi there. Welcome to Sunnyside Journals. I'm Catherine. I have a flip through today of a journal I recently completed. I made it from a 119-year-old church hymnal. I had been wanting for a while to have a little fun and see what I could create into a journal using all black and white things, papers and laces and trims and such. And this is what I came up with, and it was so much fun. I will definitely do it again, especially because I had so many plans of so many things I wanted to put into this book, and I could not fit it all in. So I had to sort of be choosy. If you've been following along as I make this, you might be sitting here going, well, where's this? You said you were going to put it in. Well, some things made it in, and other things didn't, and some things are completely out of the blue that maybe will be new for you to see. So I hope you enjoy this. I did find some black and white polka dot ribbon to tie around it, and I just think that completes the whole thing right there. So let's take a look inside. You'll see on the front cover, I made sort of a presentation plate here by layering some scrapbook paper with some old German paper. This is actually from a German Sunday school book, and a photo from a book I found one day that was full of black and white photographs of people wearing hats. And I've actually used a few of those photos inside this book. So if you see a photo of somebody wearing a hat, most likely it came from this book that I found a while back. And the photo corners are vintage photo corners. So let's measure this book because I forget how big it is. It is not quite 6 inches by 8.5, and I believe it's 1.25 inches spine. But let's take a look and see. It's not quite 1.5 inches. So in between 1.25 inches and 1.5 inches. It has a restored spine, nice and strong again, since it was published in 1902. And it was in pretty good condition. I still opted to make sure the spine was nice and strong given its age. And when I took the text block out and put my own in, you will see I've put in 5 signatures. There are 32 pages of varying sizes in each signature, so that adds up to 160 pages. So it's a nice sized journal. And I put a little bit of a lace trim at the header and the footer. And I even used black and white fabric when I sewed the text block together. So I tried wherever possible to use black and white. Now keep in mind that sometimes old paper will yellow or even turn brownish, and I still figure that counted because I bet at some point in its lifetime it was white. So when we look inside here, you will see that there is the original front page of this book. And I love how this turned out here. I had to make an executive decision because the publishing date is on the back of this page. But this page, from years of being the first page open, first pages in books take a real beating because you don't always finish the book, but you always turn the first page, especially for a hymnal that would be used at least once a week. So I opted instead to glue it right down to this scrapbook paper to give it some more strength. But that meant that you wouldn't be able to see the year that it was published in. If you look back into my video history, you'll see it in as I was starting to take apart the book. So you'll know for sure. It's 1902. But just to be a reminder for the new owner, I did find a calendar for January of 1902, and I put it right there as a tuck spot. So I'm just leaving that there so you know it's a tuck spot, but if you like, you can just leave it like that. You'll see here, scrapbook paper. Yes, there is scrapbook paper in this book. I, whenever possible, use all repurposed materials when I create my journals. And if you've been here a while, you're probably getting sick of me saying this, but I always wonder if someone new is here and they wonder how I go about making my journals. And I find my sources such as thrift stores, yard sales, estate sales, church rummage sales, Happy Mail. I've had a lot of wonderful people share with me some beautiful paper goods and lace goods over this past while. So everything in here is from a repurposed source, with the exception of I have 2.5 tickets in here. I'll show them to you when we get to them. That I purchased from a small business in Toronto, and I figured that's a good cause, supporting a small business. But otherwise, everything in here, these laces, these papers, the photos, they either are a photo or else they came out of a book of photos, such as this one right here. So repurposed, I think that really truly makes it a junk journal, but it's still beautiful. This was the last of this beautiful sequined brocade, and I'm glad it got to go into this journal, which I have been affectionately calling Black and White for obvious reasons. So in here on the first page, you're going to see that every single signature has a folio from the original text block of music. Now it's October. I'm not big into Halloween, but I did want to make a journal that maybe was a little dark and quirky, and maybe a little bit strange, but not necessarily Halloween-y per se. So the music, all the music that I chose to put back into the book are actually from the section of the hymn book that was for funerals. And they're beautiful pieces. I actually sang along to a lot of them. I know a lot of these songs. So on this side, I did a little bit of stenciling. There's a tuck spot here. I fussy cut from out of an advertisement this Polydent ad, but then I added this medieval guy, and he's smiling now because he finally has some Polydent for his dentures, I suppose. I don't know. So this is vintage photo album paper. It's an offcut because I've used some more further on into the book. This really cool envelope came in some Happy Mail, and I put into it some more. Oh my goodness, I'm having a brain cramp here. Hold on, I'm going to find out. Rolodex. So I did a little bit of stamping on the Rolodex cards. I've tucked them in there. You can put whatever else you like in there. But again, from Happy Mail, I made use of quite a bit of Happy Mail in this journal, and I'm grateful to all the Happy Mail senders who have blessed me with wonderful things. Even the washi tape is black and white. So you can see I took sort of a bit of artistic license and used some creamy colors to match the older papers that are creamy. This is from an a vintage book called the Encyclopedia of Watches and Clocks. And whenever possible, when I've used old papers, I write the publication date of the book down in the corner in very faint pencil, so you can erase it if you want to. So this page came out of a book that was published in 1959. Now you'll notice up here this whale tail tab of this dashing young man looking to see what time it is. And the idea for these whale tail tabs, the brilliant idea of these tabs, came from Tape and Twine. And if you're not following them on Instagram, you should, because I flipped when I saw her idea for using old black and white photos as tabs in a junk journal. Pardon me. This little multiplication table came from a book that I received in Happy Mail. It's from 1916. This is a printable menu sheet, and I put another lovely looking young lady. These tabs in particular that you'll see in this journal came from a high school yearbook that I have from 1964. Lots of room for journaling, although I did go a little crazy in this book. I was enjoying myself so much. So there's probably a little more than usual in this book that I have done. The other side of the multiplication book. This collage of photos, which I am in love with and will do again, isn't that pretty, is a tuck spot. So you'll see here you can take things out. I've included a few little pieces of paper in here. This was from a magazine from 1958. This came from Happy Mail. It's just an invoice type piece of paper. Come on, in you go. And this came from a hotel in Ireland. But I found it in my local thrift store, so somebody went there. And I love how that turned out. So keep in mind, anytime you see music, that'll be from 1902. A little bit of stenciling here. I love how this page turned out. It's very clean and crisp. The camera came from a book I have on the history of photography, and I just thought it was destined to be a pocket. It just looks so cool. And then I made a tag out of a bingo card, a journaling tag, so there's blank music composition paper on the back. And then on the front, at first I just put this handsome looking young man, and then on further inspection of the book, which is on the history of Canadian Tire stores here in where I live, which is a hardware store, I'm actually related to this fellow. His name is Joel Spillett. And this was the door from the truck in the photo. So I thought I should put that on there so you know who that is. And his father was my great-great-great-grandfather's uncle. So his father was Stanley Spillett. And my great-great-great-grandfather was Samuel Spillett. So, because I knew in Newmarket, Ontario, if you've got that last name, we're related. Anyhow, I had to make it even a journaling spot out of that door. I just thought that was much too much fun to pass up. So Joel is right there. Again, more room for you to collage or journal. I had a little bit more left over from the vintage photo album page, so I added a lovely looking young lady from out of an old magazine. And then here is one of the few places where you'll see a bit of color in this journal, the green leaves. But it's an old tea card, and the skunks are black and white. So I had to include that. And then this Rolodex card, I just put a little fussy cut. This is out of a Girls' Own annual book that I have from 1889. And a bit more stenciling here. Here's one of the handsome fellows on a whale tail tab up at the top, peeking out over. I have a thing for vintage photos of people in glasses. It just cracks me up. And I think I'm allowed to say that because I'm vintage and I've worn glasses since I was just under 2 years old. And actually today, in honor of black and white, I'm wearing my polka dot glasses, black and white polka dot glasses. So, even though you can't see me, I'm in it with everything I got. This page looks old. It's a reprint, but it's so pretty, and I wanted to include it. I have a tea-dyed page from a birdwatching book, so I added another tea card with a raven on it, which I thought looked cool. Even the paper clip is black and white. So I added that. On the whale tail tab, there's a little word snippet that says birds. Bridge score sheet. This page is from the Manual of Gardening. It's from 1911, and I've put it down here. Oh, it opens up. There we go. Tuck spot here, just made. I tried to make as good use as I could with all the black and white scrapbook paper that I had. So here I covered an old vintage postcard that I had. It was actually had a photo of Westminster Abbey on the front in full color. But I wanted black and white, and I loved that wing. It's the wing from a grave marker, and I thought it was beautiful. So I put it on the front of this vintage photo, and then I put an old black and white stamp on it. I believe that's from Germany. So I love how that turned out. Then I've added a page from a 1979 bird book, and it has a crow on it, and also another black bird back here called the jackdaw. And again, I think that's the only other place where there's a tiny little bit of color in this book. And then this is from a butterfly book I have, a butterfly watcher's book. So it's tiny, so you could take it with you when you go butterfly watching. And it's from 1929. So I tucked those in there. And again, there's another black and white paper clip there. I just put it there for fun and to hold something on the other side. And this little fellow looking out at you. Another tuck spot here with lace. I made a journaling card from an old flashcard, and there's your chauffeur waiting for you to take you wherever you need to go. Journaling space on the back, and an old receipt in black and white. Another young lady from the 60s looking at us from the top. This is vintage crocheted lace down this side, and here is the sheet of vintage photo paper from an old album that I have. More music composition paper. This sheet was taken from a book called Anatomy and Physiology, and it was from 1918. So I've written that down here, and I just loved the drawings in it. Wait till you see. It's just I love it. So again, this is what I mean when I say you'll find quirky, unusual things in this book. And I wouldn't necessarily say it's masculine or feminine. I prefer to call it quirky. It certainly appeals to me. Again, another beautiful drawing, and this is sort of my timid way of giving a tip of the hat to Halloween. This is from a book on fractures, medical book on fractures, and it's from 1916. This spread is from the Wanda Gog's children's book called Millions of Cats. I love Wanda Gog's illustrations, and she worked mostly in black and white for her children's books. This actually was a full illustration in one of my art books on the history of Christianity. And this was an illustration for a book called The Pilgrim's Progress. And there's the pilgrim heading up to the pearly gates there. I just rather liked the skull and crossbones down here and this rather ominous looking fellow down here that I'm not going to get into. And I thought, what can I do with this? And I just thought about making it flippable. But then I thought, why not a pocket? So you can see here, there's the old page underneath. So he's a pocket. I've reinforced him. There was no need to reinforce this. And I've tucked in some black and white things from a vintage Monopoly game. Some money there, and you'll never be broke. And another bridge score sheet. And I've just tucked that in there for you. And you can journal on all the back of those. A little stamping here of another raven. Here I've made a little tip out. I received this envelope again in Happy Mail. I put a little black and white stamp on it, and there's a little bit of tea-dyed paper in there tucked inside. So, and I glued it on this side so that it tips out. Another handsome young man on that music paper. He's one of my favorites. He just looks so happy. I included this here. It's a glassine paper that I received again in Happy Mail. It was for stamps, but what I did was because you've got some photo album paper here, I've included some vintage corners to use. Now, apparently that glue, you can wet it and use it. I've never trusted it. I still use my glue when I use these. So I will leave that up to you, but I included some extras. So if you wanted to put some more, maybe some photos in there or anywhere in the book, I'm including some photo corners for you. Some vintage photo corners. Come on, little paper clip. There we go. Another journaling card that I created. I have a book called Cemeteries of London, from London, England. And I just thought this was so beautiful, and I knew I wanted to put it somewhere in this book. So I created a journaling card out of it. That is a grave marker. It's stunningly beautiful. Another raven. I loved the artwork on these pages. This is from a book on North American birds that I have, and it's from 1898. So there's a lot of old book pages in this book. This is from a notepad from a hotel just outside of Buffalo, New York, called Salvatore's Italian Gardens. And I've actually stayed there, although I didn't get this there. I found this in my local thrift store. So someone else in my town has stayed at Salvatore's Italian Gardens. It's actually a lot of fun to stay there. And the food at the restaurant is phenomenal. Now this spread here evolved. I knew I wanted to use this gentleman. He was from the Hat Book with his binoculars. And initially I thought, well, I've got him seated on, this is a vintage tag. This is not one of the tickets that I bought from the little company in Toronto. But so I have him seated on the ticket. And initially I thought he was looking at this bird. But then I came across this in that 1940s British magazine that I have. These spectacular legs. They remind me of Betty Grable's legs. And I thought, I have to put her legs in here. So I'll leave it up to you whether he is bird watching or whether he is girl watching. And then there is some bullet journal paper in the middle to give her a little bit of privacy. Again, quirky, sorry. I just love having fun in a journal. Here I have made a little journaling spot from an ad that was in an old National Geographic magazine. I believe it was from the 1940s. I'll have to look that up for you because I didn't write it down. But you can flip that up and there's a spot there for journaling. And it's got two girls. One's helping her get her cowboy boots off. And there's another. That might be my favorite photo whale tail tab. And the other side of Salvatore's Italian Gardens. And the other side of that old bird book. More stenciling. A little tuck spot here made with some offcuts of the scrapbook paper. And I made some journaling cards for you. These are playing cards that I've backed with blank music paper. This is one of the tickets from the little business. It's called the Washi Tape Shop. And then I made another, oh, there we go, 8x9, 8x9, and it's backed with music paper. And then another little ticket tucked in there. These young men, older men, look dapper with their hats on. And this little piece of film is out of a slide, and I've used the frame a little further along. So you'll see the frame a little bit further along, and I didn't want to waste anything, so I thought that looked nice there as a little collage. And another handsome fellow up there. More stenciling here. This page, I believe, I wrote it on the other side of the other one. I believe it's 1896, I believe. Another fussy cut out of my hats book that I love. And I fit Bye-Bye here in this little fussy cut detail. And so I thought he looks like he's watching someone go away. So it's on the page that says goodbye. This page out of the Book of Psalms is from 1922. A little tuck spot here. Oh, I need to put something in there. Here we go. And this little slide frame has a picture of Beatrix Potter in it. She's also in the that tuck spot that I created with the collage of photos previously in the book. So you'll have to watch out for Beatrix Potter in that. Some more music composition paper, and another lovely young lady wearing her glasses. I had glasses like those in the 60s. Mine were powder blue with rhinestones in the corner. They were quite fetching. 1895. Okay, I was close. So this page is out of a book from 1895. More stenciling here, but I still left the pages blank for you to have fun with. On the back page here, I've made a tuck spot from a photo that I have from a book of opera singers from the early 1900s. And I thought she's looking and wondering whether she should have joined in. This is a postcard. It's a reprint. I found this whole book of reprint postcards called Toronto Flashbacks. And this is the first Miss Toronto pageant from 1926. There they are. Looking actually really great. I love their hair. And I put a black and white stamp already on it for you. So I tucked that in there. And I put in a library pocket with a little sunshine. And of course, a library card that you could journal on. And of course, it's not one of my journals unless it has the photo strip of my mom and my grandmother on it. And I did that in black and white. And then the last little detail in this book is a gentleman from Out of That Hat's book, and he's just peeking out over the top there, wearing his bowler cap and looking very dapper. So that is black and white. I hope you enjoyed this flip through. If you're interested in this book, I will be listing it for sale later on this afternoon. I'm aiming for about 5 p.m. Toronto time, which is the same as New York time. So 5 p.m. New York time. It should be in my Etsy shop around then. Sometimes it's a few minutes early. Sometimes Etsy's slow and it's a couple minutes later. The best way to know for sure is to either follow me on Instagram. I will usually put a post on Instagram that I finally got it up because I have to fill it all in and post photos. Or else, if you have favorited my shop on Etsy, Etsy should send you a notification that I have listed something new in my little shop. So the link for that is down below. So if you are interested, I hope you'll go over and take a look at it. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this rather wordy tour through black and white. Gosh, I enjoyed making this book. It was so much fun. I love the profile of all this fun along here. All those photos sticking out. That's exactly how I hoped it would look. I love the people that are peeking out over the top here on those black and white photos. Thank you to Tape and Twine for that idea. I will definitely be making another one of these in my future. I'll have to find another pure black book to use, or else a pure white book. And that way I can make use of all of the stuff that I had gathered together, thinking, oh, I'm going to put it all in. And it would have been, you wouldn't have had any room to make this your own. So there we go. Have a great rest of your day, everyone, and we'll talk soon. Bye.